I'm Dr. Smani, and you're watching another episode of the Fulbright Women Podcast Season 1, where we bring to you the brightest women of Pakistan and share the amazing work that they're doing in their fields. Today, we have Maryam Zia. Maryam is a research fellow with the Government of Balochistan at the Strategic Planning and Reform Cell. She has also been a research analyst for the World Bank. She holds an MSc in Economics from LUMS and an MSc in Applied Economics from the University of Maryland. She has lived in Turbat, Karachi, Quetta, Lahore, and Washington, D.C. And today our conversation is just about that. Her insight from her diverse experience living in all these places. Hi Maryam, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for doing this conversation with me today. Maryam, I just want to get right into it. Could you talk about your experience growing up in Turbat? What was it like?
It was a small city, and at that time there wasn't much, I would say, as city has developed a lot these days. But I went to school there, and I went to a private school, and I think it was the best one there. What helped me to see the world from outside was that my uncle was a lawyer, and he used to go to office in the evenings and used to take me with him. So I think that was my first experience to know how an office looks like. And I think from there, I saw city from a different angle. And that experience helped me, I think, and shaped me later in life.
This is very interesting because I want to understand more. How did that experience shape a lot of your life ahead?
Basically, when I went to office with my uncle, it was like people coming in, and they're always asking him like to fight their case, to provide them justice. And I was very curious, and he used to like write files and make drafts and things like that. So I thought that maybe one day I would go to an office. How would my office would look like? And then over there, women do not go out much. And my father used to own like couple of shops down the block. Then I used to visit market from the office to that place to meet my father. At that time, I learned how market looks like. And those were like, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I saw city very differently. And I knew there is a market, there are shops, there is an office, people come and people go. And I used to go to like to dinners with my uncle, to his friends' houses. What it gave me was that I learned to go out. I was able to see myself in public spaces. I was able to imagine myself in offices. So when now I go out, it helps me that I've been doing it from childhood. So it isn't new for me. And this is a way that it gave me confidence in life.
It gave you confidence, and at a very young age, you also developed this freedom of mobility, right? That you said you were introduced to this really new world, which wasn't just a space of just being in your house, but a world where there was interactions with strangers, and then you're also going on the road. How did that help you develop your personality?
It made me learn the concept of justice from very beginning, and it made me interested in different affairs. It did not limit me to myself, to my world. It made me help that I can go and work for people. I can go and interact with people. I can do things. And this is how I got interested in politics. And my uncle used to read like Don Daly. And when he used to bring it, I used to take like the Young World and the paper, and I used to read the Don's opinion from there. And this is how it also gave me a perspective outside my city. It provided me an opportunity to learn about Pakistan. It provided me an opportunity to learn about world. So I think it opened my mind, and I started thinking about things. I wasn't only limited to my city, but I was interacting and learning about things that those were happening around country or around world.
So, Mariam, it sounds like you have like really fond memories from your childhood growing up in Turbat. Then I wonder what made you move.
Uh, I did my school there, but there wasn't many good colleges. There wasn't any private college. There was only one public college. And my family thought that it's not good enough. And they wanted my cousins and sisters and brother to go to better schools. That's why they decided to move to Karachi. That's how we moved to Karachi, and I went to college and did my undergrad from there.
Was that a huge change moving from Turbat to Karachi? And also tell me the age that you moved at. Was there any cultural shock? What were the differences, first differences you noticed?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of differences. I think at that time I was maybe 15 or 16. I was just done with my school. And the first thing when I went to my new college, I saw I don't have any friends there. And I went back home and I cried. I said that I'm not going to this college again and I don't want to live here. And I cried a lot. I said, I want to go back. I don't want to stay here and I don't want to be here. But then my family said that you didn't say this before your admission to the college. Maybe we could do something. Now we have paid the fee and now you have bought the uniform and books and everything. Now you can't move. So go to college for a few days and see how it works for you.
So then did it work out for you eventually?
Mm, yeah, I think it did. Uh, Initially, I noticed that the teachers, the college is different. The way they teach, the way they do, and I mean, before I never took notes during my classes, but when I went to this college, I start. I saw that everyone is noting down the lecture of the teacher. That's how I learned and I started. Initially, I struggled a lot because I was coming from Balochistan board and I enrolled in federal board. There was much tougher than Sindh and Balochistan board, and even the vice principal of college suggested that I should not choose this. But she said that maybe I'm coming from Balochistan, I would not be well prepared and I would not be having a good background to perform. And we were 26 when we went for the first year exams. And out of those, 13 failed in chemistry. And I wasn't one of them. So it was interesting that I was doing better than many of my class fellows. That's how I found out that my school Turbat wasn't that bad and I'm performing well, that my classmates were coming from all levels, my classmates were coming from federal board, and I'm performing good.
So, Maya, why was there a sense of low confidence in you, or even what you said earlier, teacher, the principal who thought maybe you would not be able to perform that well. Where was that stemming from?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. That was coming from that they thought I'm from Balochistan and my ethnicity played a big role, because when I went to class for the very first day, and teacher noticed everyone was a new kid in the class, and a teacher asked me, she said that, can you speak Urdu? I was like, what makes my teacher think that I would not be able to speak Urdu? Because it was also surprising for me, because I took a test for the entrance and I cleared it. I took an interview. Then I thought, what is making my teacher to think that I would not be able to speak Urdu? Later, I found out that it's my ethnicity, and it is me coming from Balochistan that they are thinking that I would not be able to perform well, or I would not be able to speak Urdu even.
Very interesting, because I wonder if this is just one example of portrayal of such pre-notions from others because of your ethnicity, right? Were there other experiences that you can think of where you can talk about the prejudice or discrimination or change of behavior and attitude towards you just because you come from Balochistan?
When I was in my undergrad university, one of my professors asked me that, how did you go to school? I said, why? He said that you're a Baloch, and Sardars and Nawabs do not let anyone go to school. I was like, no, it is not like this. I'm from Turbat, and there aren't any Sardars and Nawabs even. How could you say that I'm not allowed to go to school? Then he said, no, you're not telling the right thing. You are hiding the truth. You must be going to school somewhere else. I said, no, everyone, including me and everyone else in Turbat goes to school, and there aren't any problems in going to school, and nobody stops anyone from going to school. But they did not believe me. Later, I learned that they feel entitled to have opinions about my life. They have never been to Balochistan, they have never been to Turbat, but they try to tell me about it as if they know more than me. And I used to tell them, it's not like this. I always used to fight with them. No, it is not like this. And then they used to think that I might have a very conventional family. I might have very limited freedom, and my life must be very limited. I told them, no, it is not like this. Nobody will say anything to me, and I'm allowed to do things as much as anyone else. I'm allowed to go out, I'm allowed to hang out, and I can do anything I want to. But I think they had these stereotypes about Baloch and us. And whenever I went to Balochi dress and I went to like malls or hospitals or anywhere, people thought I would not be able to speak Urdu. I don't know anything.
And all of this happened in, we're talking about Pakistan, right? This was all happening in Pakistan. Can you talk about your Fulbright experience, though? How was that different, and how did that help you grow? And actually, I see there's a pattern here. You're just traveling from one place to another to get more, to grow more in search of more opportunities. How was your Fulbright experience?
Yeah, I think Fulbright was a very nice experience, and we were 5 people who were living in the same area. 4 of us were going to University of Maryland College Park, and one was going to George Washington in DC. But you can say we all were living in DC. And over there, I met people who were from Europe, Americans, and other countries. We used to hold like cultural events we used to hold Pakistani cuisine nights at our place, and we used to invite all other Fulbrighters from Europe and other countries. We used to invite our class fellows who were American, and we used to like cook biryani, make tikka, and we used to treat them with chai and tell them stories of our country and things like that. I think that was very interesting. And another thing was that I was living very close to DC, so I used to attend a lot of events over there. I remember I was an event at Brookings, and they were like very famous economists, and they were talking about competition and market productivity. So I wanted to ask a question, but I was very nervous. So when I said that I want to ask a question, at the beginning, I said that, okay, I could be wrong, but I just want to ask this question. I asked that, what if you break down the big companies to increase productivity? That's how I think we can increase productivity. But I was very nervous to ask this question. Then the economist said, oh, wow, you are right. And you're asking a very good question. And then he answered that, how can we do it and how we can't do it? Then the program ended and he called me. He said, come here. I went, I was very nervous that what is he going to say? Then he said, where do you go to college and who do you work with? You have very good concepts, what you're studying, and you understand well. So I think this is how I go to meet great economists in DC, policymakers. And one thing more, while I was in on my Fulbright, at that time there was election campaigns going on. I was interested in politics, so I used to go to these debates that university used to arrange for the students, and we used to see all the debates on screen together with our teachers and university mates. I think I was able to see how students organize political activities on campus, and I don't have any experiences of that in Pakistan. And we had like students of our university supporting Bernie, and Bernie was everywhere on the campus. And they used to go to like fundraising for him. They used to like campaign for him. So I learned that. One day I was like walking up to campus and I saw a big trucks standing there, and people having water, food, things like that. I went to them and I said, what's happening? They said that we are collecting water, food, and things like that, and we would go and give them to people in DC. So I went and I purchased water and gave them, and I saw that how protests were happening in DC, and we saw wall chalking of Black Lives Matter in Maryland. So I think it was a rich experience in many ways.
There's so much that you've talked about, that you were absorbing from your surrounding on campus as well as off campus activities that you were participating in. There was something else that you did. Can you talk about your internship with the World Bank?
Oh yeah, actually, when I was studying there, I was doing economics, and I learned that World Bank headquarters are in DC, and IMF is there as well. So I applied, and somebody called me, and they said that we have something and we need to meet you. Can you come to DC for an interview or a test at this time? I went there, and a senior economist came down and he walked me into the bank. And then he was holding the paper. Then he asked me some questions. And then she said that, where did I go to school in Pakistan? I said, Lums. Then she said, oh, wow, I know about Lums. I was quite surprised that they know about Lums. And then we sat for a coffee, and she had a paper. She had one paper, and she said, this is the paper I'm working on, and I'm giving this paper to you. It has some problems, some technical problems. And I give you a week, and if you figure out how can those problems can be fixed and what are the problems, and you can come up with something, then the internship or the position would be yours. Then you can work on this paper with me. Then I went home and I read the paper, and initially I wasn't able to find anything. I said, it's all good. But later I read it like 3-4 times, and then I found out that, oh yeah, there is this problem with model, and there's this problem with this thing. And then I wrote down an email mentioning all the problems. Then she invited me again. Then I went again and I told her that I read the paper and I see these problems in it, and I think we could fix the problems by these things. Then she said, okay, fine, you can come from tomorrow and we would be working. And that's how I ended up working there, and then I used to work there.
That is amazing. Maryam, I wonder, can you talk about how did you develop these critical thinking skills?
I think I told you that I've been reading newspaper. I've been going to different places. I've been meeting different people, and I used to read a lot of books from childhood. And in the evenings, my cousin's father used to read books to us, and he used to ask us that how many books or how many chapters have you read. And I used to follow world politics. I used to follow Pakistani politics, and I was always following and reading newspapers, reading The Economist, listening to BBC. I was very young when I started listening to BBC Urdu. I thought that it's an unbiased media through which I could learn. So I think that's how I developed all these habits, and that's how I developed maybe the skill of critical thinking.
You were very young when another thing also started, which was your journey from one city to another, then to another, then to another. I think about, all these different places, Turbat, Karachi, Lahore, Quetta, DC. These are all very different cultures, right? Which of the cultures do you relate with the most?
I think I relate with the Balochi culture most, because there's the culture I grew up in, there's the culture we follow and see at our place. But I think all other cultures or all other places where I lived have an influence over me, because I met many different people with very different cultures. But I think Balochi is very close to me, and I love wearing Balochi dresses. I love the culture, but I think these experiences have an influence over me, and I think I'm more open-minded. I'm more open to people from different races, from different countries, and I have a respect for other cultures. That's how I developed a sense of other cultures, and maybe I have certain things from there, because there were like a group of students who came to Lahore. They were coming from Turbat, and they came to Lams. And at that time, I was the Baloch studying at Lams, and they met me, and they said that I told them that I'm from Turbat. One of them insisted that you are not from there. you are not from there. I was like, why? She said, no, you don't speak like us. You don't dress like us. You are not from there. You are a Baloch maybe, but you're not from Turbat. Then I said, I'm from there and it's not like that. Then she said that, okay, if you're from Turbat, where is your house in Turbat? I was like, that was quite interesting. Then she met me again, like for the next day. Then she came to me and said, "Actually, I think you could be from Turbat." I was like, wow. But that's how means I've changed in many different ways, and even some Baloch think that I might not be enough Baloch for them. So yeah.
That's very interesting. But Mariam, I also remember this one thing that I wanted to ask you. You've studied in very different colleges and campuses, right? I'm talking about Pakistan right now. How much representation did you find of Baloch students there, or students coming from Turbat, or even other parts of Balochistan over there?
I think that's very unfortunate. I think I was the first Baloch woman, and there was another one with me. We went to Lams from Turbat for the very first time. So I don't see a lot of representation of Baloch, especially neither men nor women in the elite campuses of Pakistan. And my cousins go to like IBA, my brother goes to Abi, but we don't find many other Balochs there. The representation is very, very low.
Why do you think that is the case? Is it that the Baloch students do not apply to such universities, or that they're not aware about these good universities, or is it the universities are not reaching out to the audience in Balochistan?
A very good question. What I think is that I would speak for lungs because that's where I came across this. And it is because universities keep their admission criteria at a very high level. If I speak of lungs, they ask for 70%. If you don't have 70% in your matric or intermediate, you cannot apply to lungs. And unfortunately, many students in Balochistan couldn't get this much percentage because the boards here work very differently. So in this way, they are excluded from the beginning. And another problem is when I was studying at LUMS, I came across this national outreach program that is a scholarship which funds your undergraduate fully. I went to the NOP office and I asked them that have you ever went to Turbat, Gwadar or other cities of Balochistan other than Quetta? They said, yes, we have conducted information session. But when I went to Turbat and I conducted an information session and I asked the principals of the schools, they said that we don't have any information of NOP. Students did not know about this scholarship, and that was the very first time that they came to know about NOP and this opportunity. I think it is from the college side, and they also think that Balochistan is Quetta. And when they think of Balochistan, they think of Quetta. They do not think of all other districts of Balochistan. Although there are more than 30 districts in Balochistan, but they focus on Quetta. They go to Quetta and conduct an information session there. And if you find any student from Balochistan in LUMS, that must be from Quetta. I've never met anyone who is coming from Turbat, Gwadar, or any other city of Balochistan.
So there is, let's say, room for improvement in the structure, in the strategy development, and in the policy making of trying to reach out to the students and the right audience, the youth from entire Balochistan, right? I kind of want to use that to segue into what you're currently doing as a development, research fellow. Can you talk about your current work and how you try to take care of these issues as well?
Actually, this is a new role that I've taken up, and I go to Planning and Development Department of Government of Balochistan, and unfortunately, I don't see any other women there. So it is the all males space. I go to work there. I think that is one step that I'm taking, that we need to take women, and we need to have women in offices. Other than that, I conduct like some online sessions for students, and students from Turbat and all other parts of Balochistan, they reach out to me through Facebook, through Twitter, and they message me and they ask me, do you know of any scholarship we can avail? Then I tell them about NOP, I tell them about scholarships at Abib, I tell them about scholarships at IBA. Apart from that I've been on Fulbright, and students who are applying on Fulbright, not only from Balochistan, but from other parts of Pakistan. They reach out to me and they tell me that you have been on Fulbright and we have written our SOP, we have written our personal statement. Do you have some time to go through it? I always give it a read and I comment on that, and I try to help. And sometimes people reach out to me and say that we have been called for an interview of Fulbright. Can you do a mock interview with us? So I also do mock interviews with them. I think that's how I'm doing my bit in this. When people know that Maryam is the first woman from Makran who went to LUMS, Maryam is the first woman from Makran who went on Fulbright, they get motivated. They see an inspiration there and they apply.
We do need to raise awareness as much as possible and do our part, so that as many people can get the kind of opportunities that we got and perhaps we didn't get either. People deserve that. That is, I think, the basic right. On that note, what is your parting message?
My message is to the women, to the men who are from peripheries of Pakistan, that you can reach wherever you want to. You can go outside your cities. You can go outside your country. You must not lose hope. You must dream big. You must aspire big. I don't say that I got everything in my life by hard work, because I come from a privileged background. But I think if you dream, a path, and then that will make you make efforts and reach your destination. And the second message I want to give to the Pakistanis who live in big cities like Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, please do not judge anyone by what they are wearing. If they wear a Balochi dress, if they wear something else that is different from your attire, it doesn't mean they come from a lesser place, and it doesn't mean they don't know anything about world. It doesn't mean they cannot speak English. It doesn't mean they cannot speak Urdu. It just means they are from a different location. They are from a different ethnicity, and we are a diverse country. We must accept that and cherish that.
That is a beautiful message, Maryam. Thank you so much for participating in this conversation, despite all the network issues that we kept having in the middle. But we powered through and we made it happen. So thank you so much. And I'm going to stay in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye.